Dicky Tammy.
So it has to be entertaining, and in this game, there's nothing better than a grisly, violent death. But which of our detectives take it seriously, and which just take it too far?
There are some shows that are pretty graphic, you know, and in a way, it adds to the horror of whatever's happened. In Jonathan Creek, it's done almost in a comic way. You do go, God, I hope they caught it. Oh, God, I hope this guy's going to be dangerous to try to find, and you must be careful, and, you know, don't go in there. Ah.
Miss Marple's stories are far from graphic. The murder cues the unfolding puzzle.
My dear, what is it? Jane. Oh, Jane, I've just seen a woman killed.
The discovery of an unseen body can be discussed over a glass of sherry.
They didn't believe a word I said at the railway station.
I think that how gory a series is partly defines who its audience are going to be. You know, Miss Marple is a show that even though horrible things happen, people get sent vicious poison pen letters, you know, people are killed with knitting needles or whatever. You know, all of that is gruesome. And yet, it's never presented to us in visceral forensic detail. That means you can watch it with anybody.
Mrs. Sarah Roth?
I'm Sarah Roth, yes.
Detective Chief Inspector Barnaby. Do you think we could have a word, please?
About what?
Can we talk inside?
I've also one of the major jokes about Midsummer Murders, if joke it is the contrast between the savagery of the crimes, which involves dismembering and killing of all kinds, defenestration, drowning, all kinds of awful things, and the gentility of the surroundings. And that's how it differs, in a sense, from the Agatha Christie. We actually glory, rather, in the physical violence, because it's so ungenteel. It's such a contrast. That, I think, is a good, very good thing, indeed. The more blood we can have, the better.
Quality of gore is one thing, but for sheer quantity, one TV detective show more than any other takes body count to a new level.
She's down by the water.
It was a format. There was a murder to start, a murder at the end of the first episode, maybe one during the second, definitely one at the end of the second as well, and maybe one in the third.
Oh, my God.
It's to keep you going. You knew somebody else was going to get topped.
I think we need to have a talk.
The first Taggarts were 3 episodes long. You had to end a part with a body. So, you know, if you didn't end a part with a body, people would say, well, come on, why should we tune in next week? And of course, one had commercial breaks, so one could have bodies tumbling in out of cupboards before the commercial break.
There was one Taggart where there was 14 bodies, not necessarily murders, but 14 bodies before the first ad break. Now, that must be a world record.
I made a conscious decision very on to make the body count high and to make the deaths as interesting as possible. There's nothing worth. I mean, anybody can, you know, come on with a gun and shoot somebody, and it was always a bit of a challenge to think of a unique way of bumping somebody off.
Colin, take a look at that.
Taggart, you know, we try to look sort of realistic without going over the top. I mean, the makeup girls have these forensic books that are used by forensic pathologists, and they're just full of photos. And I made the terrible mistake once of actually looking at one, and it's like you can't stop. It's like, you know, you can't not look at a car crash. I just kept turning the pages thinking, oh my God.
Thank you. I knew you'd get me off.
Taggart's deaths could have a look-away quality, but in 1991, the first prime suspect kept pulling us back. The terror was so intense, we feared that if Detective Jane Tennyson didn't get her man, he might get us.
I think particularly with the arrival of Prime Suspect, detective drama took on a completely different shape.
I think we've got a serial killer.
Because it actually started to set out to really disturb and unnerve its audience.
Prime Suspect was sharply authentic and frighteningly real.
Excuse me, where's the toilet?
Oh, you're feeling a bit queasy?
No, but I think he is.
Oh, it's out there to the right.
But surely shock factor has peaked in science when the detective as pathologist in Silent Witness can get right inside the body.
Essentially, a series like Cracker or Prime Suspect, a big part of its appeal, Silent Witness too, much more prominently, is just that people want to look at dead bodies. People want to look at the unpleasant, sloshy, human detritus that you can find at a crime scene. And the fact that it's presented to you in this very complicated framework actually dignifies quite a base instinct.
If you start off going into the grisly air, the anatomical dissection of bodies and so on, if you go in for the grislier aspects of crime investigation, then what do you do next time? You shock people this week with a book, but what terrible crimes in it. Well, what do you do next time? Well, you crank up the ante, if you like, and so you get more grisliness, and so it goes on until it becomes ludicrous.
There's evidence of bruising to the head, the feet, the tummy, the body, the pee-pee. It's consistent with crushing by a heavy object. I'd say it was a tank.
So who then are the prime suspects for the perfect TV detective? Taking into consideration the necessary detective traits, from image to shock factor, we've seen and heard that Miss Marple, Inspector Morse, Jane Tennyson and Taggart all have the highest TV detective credentials. But then so does the original, and some would say the best, Sherlock Holmes. So who do our lineup of crime writers, experts, critics and actors, when asked outright, consider to be the perfect TV detective?
Britain's favourite is probably Frost.
Frost.
Who watches Frost? Jane Tennyson.
Would you repeat that?
Jane Tennyson.
Yum. My favourite has to be Miss Marple.
Oh, how kind of potato.
I think Morse is the perfect TV detective.
Oh, it's got to be Jonathan Creek.
I see. It's down to me to clear up this mess, is it?
The perfect TV detective is Sherlock Holmes.
Inspector Morse will stand the test of time.
Oh, yes, I like Morse very much.
My favourite has to be Sherlock Holmes.
I think it has to be John Thaw as Morse.
You're not sure?
I did have my doubts.
Good, I can help you make up your mind.
Tell me the facts.
I think Sherlock Holmes.
Morse.
Sherlock Holmes.
So, after hearing the opinions of our experts and weighing up the perfect detective evidence, it's clearly between two frontrunners. Our man is an individual.
Please continue.
Who has a loyal sidekick. A puzzle solver with razor-sharp intelligence.
You'll never get on if you can't master your subjunctives.
Occasionally has an eye for the ladies. He operates within rich Gothic surroundings, and he's also known to transport himself in style. So, we're nearly there. But in the words of Columbo, just one more thing.
Holmes could actually walk into, a police station in Jersey and do Bergerak's job. He could do Fitz's job. He could do Boyd's job. He could actually take all of their places.
Yes, Sherlock Holmes is arguably our finest fictional detective character. One who's been played by a myriad of stars of stage and screen since the 1930s, from the classic Basil Rathbone to the excellent Jeremy Brett. But therein lies the small flaw. Who is Sherlock Holmes? Whereas there is only one Morse on TV. The perfect combination of character and actor. His creator had made sure of that.
The character of Morse, and particularly the portrayal of Morse by John Thaw, is the definitive Morse now. You can't imagine Morse, you can't read a Morse novel without seeing John Thaw, to the point where Colin Dexter has actually written into his will that when he dies, nobody else is allowed to play Morse on TV.
I've said that so long as I have any hand in this, well, whatever it is, 70 years after you're dead or something, I am not going to allow anybody to play Morse.
God, what an inheritance.
So it's an open and shut case. The perfect TV detective can only be Morse.
I think he really made that role his own and brought a kind of reality, a sense of reality to it, and truth to the performance. And you can't really ask for much more than that, I think.
And there's plenty more detecting happening here on BBC4 this week, including the Agatha Christie classic And Then There Were None on Christmas Day at 9 in the evening. Coming up next, though, we're off to Germany with Julia Bradbury.